I'm back. It's that Tonebuddy thing we were on about on one of the other videos. Yeah, it sounds like a plan to sort of get, you know, effects pedals rented. Yeah, and Tonebuddy was actually operated by Sound Effects over in Ormskirk in England, as they say. I was saying that. Hendrix used to say that. England. Yeah. Anyway, the point is, what you can do is you pay them a chunk of money. I know, that's painful. But you pay them the chunk of money and then they keep sending you these pedals. Well, what pedals? They've got hundreds of pedals and you can choose a pedal. You can't have more than one. Choose a pedal. And they'll send it you in a box like this. Yeah. You get it. You use it. When you've had a belly full, you send it back. Now, if you was to only use one pedal a year, of course, that wouldn't add up. The idea is that you so take a number of pedals, one after the other, until you get what you like, and then you could choose that one, and then carry on renting the rest. You know, pay for that one, or buy one of them, and then carry on renting the rest and swapping them out until you get what you like. I mean, let's face it, today, it's an absolute minefield in pedals. I mean, you look at the names on them, and you don't actually have a clue as to what they do. It's scary. I mean, look at this one. Let's flip it out. I mean, here we go. Let's get rid of that. Just now. Strymon Volante. What's a Volante do? Well, you might already know, but the name isn't a giveaway, is it? It's sort of like, let me think of a pedal name. You know, I don't know, the Mad Dog Up Yours pedal, or something ridiculous like that. It doesn't add up. It doesn't add up for you, and it definitely doesn't add up for me, because I'm not even really a pedal guy. But, you know, I decided that it was cheaper to do this than it was to keep buying pedals and every couple of them losing 300 quid, or pounds, or quids, or $450 if that makes more sense. See, for me, this is a great option. So, I paid the money, by the way, just like you would, to Sound Effects. They quickly gobbled it up off me, and when they did that, they said, okay, what pedals do you want? Well, it's not that simple. What I did is I said, well, no, don't let me ask for pedals. I haven't got a clue. Have you? Yeah. Anyway, I haven't got a clue. I said, send me the pedal that's in vogue when I ask you. And that's what they agreed. So, this one, the Volante, from Strymon, heard of that, is the in thing. Now, I'm not really great at demonstrating what's actually an echo machine. I did have an Echoplex in the 70s, but that's as near as I got. So you're never going to get any of this, the edge out of me, any of that stuff. I can't do it. At least I'm honest. You aren't, are you? You keep trying. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick look at this. Flip the back off. Have a look what it's made of and that sort of thing. And then I'll try it outside with a few demos, but don't hold your breath on the demos. Listen to the effect rather than me. I'm not good at that sort of thing, you know. Especially these type of pedals. Personally, I wouldn't buy, but I rent it. But anybody that loves this sort of stuff, yeah, this is the in thing. Yeah, you'll see. So let's zoom in, get close, take an eye to eye, yeah, a close up, and see what this thing's made of. That's important. And at this sort of money, I think these are £399 retail. Yeah, it's got to be important. We ought to be looking at it. Yeah. So hold on, let me get in close. Well, here it is, the Volante magnetic echo machine, as it says there, quite proudly. Yeah, Strymon. I don't know what anybody knows about Strymon. I mean, they've been around a while, haven't they? And they built this brand name up. And yeah, you could say that, you know, a lot of people like these pedals. They rate them as being, well, very good, actually. But they are expensive when they're new. And I guess that's one of the limitations that stops you having 100 of them. So let's, first of all, before we look at the top, let's flip it over and have a look what's inside, because what's inside does actually matter. You know, you do want quality, don't you? You don't want some junk like I've showed you on certain videos. You want to have a look inside this one. You know, £399, a lot of money. Let's take a look. Well, as you can see, this thing looked pretty well made. But then again, it would be. It comes off a flow solder machine. You can see very clearly that it's all surface mount technology. And the thing about surface mount technology is that's all good, brilliant for when you're making the equipment and all the rest of it. But has anybody ever tried to change one of these? I can tell you now, that's not an easy thing to do, because I had to do it in my day job along with other guys, and a bit of a nightmare. Having said that, there's a lot of products around these days that uses the very same sort of thing, the same technology, you know, and it's always well made. And that's one of the first things that I like to stress on anything like this equipment, is how well made it really is. Is it going to fail? Is it going to let you down anytime soon? It's rather like Roland equipment, if you want the truth. You never really see, or at least I don't, maybe you do, I don't know, but you never really see the likes of Roland failing. I've not heard much about Strymon failing either. Yeah, so that's an interesting thing to bear in mind. You know, when you are spending sort of 400 quid or $550, it probably is, or 600, whatever it is, the quality matters. Well, let's take a quick closer look. I'm not going to go into great depths. There's a few things I saw in here that I just thought were interesting. Yeah, you got the good old famous Analog Devices Shark chip. Now, I'll probably put on screen something what that's all about. It's an Analog Devices ADSP 21375 Shark chip, and there it is for all to see. Those things that some people claim are thousands of pounds, well, or hundreds and hundreds of pounds. Funny, if they're hundreds of pounds, how come that they're available in this for $399 retail? Doesn't add up, does it? Anyway, so those other people may have got it wrong, or may have had some what's that thing now? Something to do with fighting. Oh yeah, balls. Might have some of that in it. Well, let's have a look what else is on here. You've also got what looks to me like a bit of memory. There it is. Down out of the way. Not causing any harm, so to speak. What more can you say? We've also got a little transformer there. You can see it sitting there. I don't know what it's used for, don't really care, but there's another one to be looking at. As well as this little inductor down at the bottom here. No, not conductor, an inductor. There it is. Also of note, that looks to me a bit like a relay. It may or may not be, but that's what it looks like. You've got lots of capacitors and lots of other little complementary chips to be going on with. And by the way, this unit does support MIDI. So down here are likely the associated chips that relate to MIDI. Another little ditty I found when I was inside here. I used to have a drive pedal made by a company called Damage Control. You remember them? They got like a tube in them, and well, it claimed to have a tube in it. It did light up and things like that, but it didn't sound that great at the time, if you want the truth. To be honest, I thought Damage Control had faded away, but no, they didn't. Look at that. It's right there. Damage Control Engineering LLC. So this was August 2018, which was interesting. But this pedal, so Strymon, I would suggest, is likely Damage Control Engineering. Fancy that. And I always thought Strymon was yet another company. See how wrong you can be. But did you know that? That's the question. And if we want to get really on the ball with it, here's the information. It was made in week 36, 2018, probably by that company there, with that little brand there. I've never heard of them myself, but don't let that put you off. Are they American? Maybe, maybe not. I'll put it on the screen if I find anything out about them. But so as far as damage control engineering is concerned, it's probably, possibly, maybe farmed out to a third-party company for manufacture. Are they in the USA? Are they not? Maybe they are in the USA. We shall see. And there's a quick look at the sticker on the back. Sure, it's got a serial number, but that's probably been faded out so you can't see it, but don't worry about that. And it does say damage control on the back, so most people would know that it's damage control rather than Strymon. Strymon appears to be a brand name. It's got CE approval on the label. It's got built in the USA, which might mean the board comes from the USA or not. We'll have a look at that. And it's got don't throw it in your bin. I assume that gets past everything, assuming it's all genuine. It might be. They might well have CE approvals on this stuff and things like that. Big company, so probably. It's when you come on some of that cheap Chinese stuff you've got to start questioning things. Somebody like this company, probably not. Now it's all nice across the back, right? Well, I think so. Nice and simple as well. Well, relatively simple, like me. Let's go across from here. Let's go that way. Well, first thing you've got is this instrumental line switch, which is, I guess, relates to these two ins. Well, I know it does. All it actually does is set the input. When you set it to the line, it adds 10% decibel of clean headroom, basically. When it's set to an instrument, well, that's different. They have lower output than line, don't they? Use the line, the bottom one here. You can use it for synthesizers, when you put it in an effects loop of an amp or mixer, or, you know, guitar rigs with high output levels with maybe +4 and that sort of thing. If you need more headroom for it. I mean, some people like it distorting, don't they? As you overload the input. I'm not one of them. That's life. These two inputs, by the way, these are high impedance. Use the left for mono and you use the right when, well, you know, when you're using stereo, there's no other reason why you'd use it. So left for mono, it's all good. Now, on these outputs, left out and right out, these are audio signal out, and you use again the left for mono. But I just want to talk about these two because you can configure them into different modes. I'll probably put something up on screen up here somewhere so you can see or at least have an idea of what modes you can set these to. Okay, well, from that image up there, you get the idea. Mono in and mono out. There's a number of modes, like I said. This one's mono in and mono out. The mono signal, guitar or pedals, connected in the left in. The dry signal goes from the left in to the left out. The process signal path is shown in that diagram there, so you get an idea of what that is. Then we've got mono in and stereo out. Now the mono signal's connected to the left in again. The dry path actually goes from the left in to both left out and right out, obviously with effects. As per the diagram again up there, you can see it. All very interesting. And you've got a third mode, of course, which is stereo in and stereo out. Well, it's almost self-explanatory, but I'll tell you anyway. Stereo signal, pedal or a door, is connected to the left in and right in. The stereo dry path goes from left in and right in to left out and right out. You know, as you can see again in that little diagram up there. With the mono input though, the signal is sent both to the left and right analog preamps. It's done to improve the signal to noise ratio, which seems to matter on these things. And there's more, believe it or not. We've got stereo in and mono out. Now that's a little bit of figuring, but stereo signals connected to the left in and the right in. And stereo dry path starts from the left in and right in. It goes all the way through to some to mono internally, and then it's sent to the left out, which is this one. You can set the output some on or off to on for mono, some in Volante's power up modes. Just in case you didn't know. I didn't know either. If you're using stereo out connections but you'd like an output in mono, what you should do is enable the sum mode to send a summed mono signal to the left out. That's how you make it work, basically. Just a bit like the image. And lastly, we've got another one, which is mono in and stereo out in sum mode. The mono signal is connected to the left in. The drive path goes from the left in to the left out. But in the sum mode, all audio is routed to the left out, even if a jack's connected to the right out. This is useful if you don't want to disconnect a complex stereo rig at any time. Well, you don't, do you? No, I'm sure you wouldn't. They can be a right pain. Now, we've got some other interesting stuff on the back of this. For example, the MIDI in. Now, you know what MIDI can be like, don't you? If you've used MIDI at all, most of you probably have, off and on. It supports this, or it doesn't support that, or it's Tom, or it's Dick, or it's Harry, or why did you bother, and all the rest of it. But the good news on this one is it's full-featured 5-pin DIN MIDI input. There it is. It provides support for receiving MIDI program changes, and that includes messages to recall up to 300 presets in this thing. It's a MIDI continuous controller, you know, CC messages to control the individual parameters of Volante, including all the knobs, the switches, the buttons, and even the live edit functions. Very powerful. And of course you've got the MIDI clock to sync the delay time with an external MIDI clock source. Full featured, full fat, should I say. Got a MIDI out. This can be set really to send MIDI messages received at the MIDI input, to send MIDI data generated by Volante. Now when you get to see the sort of feedback and playback button over the top, well, there's 8 of them actually. You can actually set up various functions of the unit by putting in a particular mode and pressing certain buttons for different colours and that sort of thing. One of the things you can do with this, on this through, between the in and the out, on that button number 3 on playback is green, which is the default. Only message generated by Volante's UI are sent out of the Volante here. But when this button number 3 is on red, MIDI messages sent to the Volante, they're echoed to the MIDI out jack. And that's without adding messages generated by the UI, so it's a sort of through then. So you can sort of mess around with the settings quite a lot actually. It makes the pedal, you know, very versatile. Now you've got an expression pedal that you can plug into this one here, and that's configurable for a number of different really solutions. And again, it uses the buttons on the front. I won't bore you too much with it, but you can have it on as a continuous controller to control any of the knobs in any direction with standard TRS expression pedal connection, you know. You can have it as a external mini switch to control the tap tempo as opposed to expression pedal. You can have it as a preset mode which allows for the selection of up to 3 presets using a Strymon multi-switch plus, if you've got the money that is, or a 300 presets by sending the MIDI program change messages via core to TRS MIDI connection. How exciting. So you can put a MIDI connection in there, it seems. You can also toggle between the 3 settings of the speed switch using a Strymon multi-switch plus again through there. You can have it in transport mode as well, and that provides additional transport controls again using the multi-switch plus. So it turns it more into a unit that you might use with a separate floor pedal, you know, for control of the things like you couldn't in the 70s in the the other one, the Echoplex. Yeah. Very interesting. There's also here a USB that's used for connecting to a computer controlled via MIDI. So you can do it from a computer rather than even this. There it is, USB as opposed to MIDI. Lastly, there's the power connection, and you can see on that it's 9 volts positive on the outside the connector, and the inside's a negative. 300 milliamps minimum, it says. So not a particularly powerful power supply. Good. So let's flip this thing round to the front now and take a quick look at, well, it won't be so quick, but let's have a look at the front and see some of the things you can do. I'm not going to go to the 1000th degree of, you know, listing every feature out. It's very, very feature-rich product, of which you could literally spend, I could spend an hour just talking about it. There's no point. Well, here we are around the front, and yeah, it doesn't look much, but there's quite a lot on it really. We've got the usual three culprits of foot switches, and these are the sort that don't go click in a hard way. They just you do press them, but they don't click. This one here activates the audio processing actually. Press it to engage the effect, or bypass it if you press it again, I guess. Press and hold to activate the infinite repeats with oscillation. You can see there, it's a little thing down there that's telling you that. Bypass, by the way, is configured for true bypass using electromechanical relays. You saw them in the video earlier. And that's by default, but it can also be sent to buffered bypass if that's what you prefer. There's a lot on this thing, and as I say, it doesn't look much, but there is a lot on it. We've got a tap button over this side, and that sets the quarter note delay time for playback head 4, because it's a bit like a tape machine. It's what you've got to think about. It says other things, but it's basically like that. The tap LED flashes to indicate the delay time in quarter notes. Tap ranges go from 100 milliseconds to 4 seconds. Half. Normals 100 milliseconds to 2 seconds. And doubles 100 milliseconds to 2 seconds. So I don't know why that does that, but you'll probably hear it later. And favourite, well, I guess that's your favourite. Actually, that favourite switch, there's more to it. You can recall an active favourite. You can choose an active favourite with it. And you can save it to a preset location. Yeah, how exciting. Well, not really. But it's very flexible. That's the thing you try and get at. And you can use these up here to compare different settings you've saved, which is also pretty useful really. There's 8 presets, you can see them there, and they're all associated to really to the playback. And the feedback buttons are assigned to MIDI program changes 0 to 7, just in case you didn't know. Enough of that. Now, as I said, there's actually quite a lot to this this unit, and I can't spend all day on it. It's best to get to hear some of it later, and I'm only going to be using presets because I'm not very good with these things. But that's okay. I'm probably like you. Yeah. Looking at this section up here, it does take me back a little bit to when I was using the Echoplex type of thing, and actually the whole thing does over here and over here. Really a bit weird. But let's look at these knobs here and this switch. Well, this one here, this is your record level. This controls the analog preamp gain of the signal fed into the processor. When you turn it up, you'll get fat and saturated signals, and those go to like what's called the record head. If you think of it, you have to think of it like a sort of tape machine. That's the best way. Turn it down for cleaner delay. It's simple enough, isn't it? Now this one, you know those old tape machines were mechanical devices, and I had a sort of loop on mine going round and round and round on a bit of tape on the Echoplex. I didn't have all of the others, but I had an Echoplex, and I think there was a Vox one I had as well, but don't worry about it, don't tell anyone. Anyway, on this one here, this relates to the mechanics of the unit and really how it affects the sound. This controls the amount of mechanically related speed, fluctuations and media irregularities, the tape for example, including friction, creases, splices, and it says here containments wherever they are. I never remember seeing any containments, but I saw all the others. You set this to the minimum for a fresh, clean recording medium, you just put a new tape on, and set it to maximum for recording medium that is, well, it's naffed. So you get a naff sound when you crank it all the way, right? That makes sense. We've got a sort of low cut here. This controls the frequency shaping of the echo repeats. Set to minimum for extended low frequency bandwidth. Set to maximum for extremely high pass repeats. Well, I never really had one of them. on the thing I had. We got one here that's relates to, it's a bit like the mechanics. This one's wear. And this controls, well, in effect, it's a sort of simulation of, it controls the wear of the media and the heads, which affects the fidelity of the high frequencies. Set it to minimum for a nice, fresh, full bandwidth sound. Set it to maximum for a naffed out unit. Not this one, but the original. Yeah, that makes sense, and it reminds me of the olden days. Oh my God. Lastly, in this little section here, we've got this type. We've got drum, tape, and studio. Now the thing is, there were a number of types, like this is pointing out. I never saw them all myself, so what do I know? I know the tape. But here we go, the drum. This is based on a sort of steel wire spinning platter, and it generated atmospheric echoes that emphasize the low mid frequencies, and they saturate with hot signals or high feedback. So you get that sort of distorted sound when you whack your guitar, I guess. On the tape, what you've got with that is magnetic tape, simulation of course. It was used in vintage echo machines like my Echoplex. Warm tape response, moderately clean and airy signal path. Well, it could get a bit hairy once you actually used it a lot, and that was the thing, you had to keep cleaning the heads, you know. But that was on the real deal, there's nothing to clean on this one. And then you've got the studio, which I guess is a studio quality, clean studio grade tape used in reel-to-reel units. So they'd use reel-to-reel recorders, maybe even at 15 IPS. Anybody remembers any of that, do you? I certainly do. And there's a simulation of it. So a lot of stuff on here. It's amazing how this technology can sort of go back and look at what was. And a lot of guys strive for that old stuff, don't they? I'm not one of them, by the way. I'm going to talk a little bit about this little section here. Playback. Feedback. Sounds good, doesn't it? Feedback. Yeah. So on the feedback, this enables or disables the feedback of the corresponding playback head signal to the recording head. This all goes back to tapes and things like that, where you can basically, yeah, it's almost like modifying the circuit a little. That's how I describe it. But simulating modifying the circuit. We've got a time knob. Now that time knob, while pressing and holding the individual feedback button, adjusts the panning for each playback head. Adjusting the knob to 12 o'clock returns the head to the center position. Yeah. Now the thing is, if you think about this, so what they're saying is you can pan certain things to certain sides. Useful. The head, by the way, that can be fed back to the input, even if its playback's disengaged, which is a bit weird, but that's what it can do. And when all the heads are panned to the center, psychoacoustic stereo process is applied to the delay signal. Yeah, can you turn that off? Well, maybe not. But if they're all straight ahead, that's what it does. Now on the playback side of this thing, you can select these to select which of the individual playback heads are engaged. When they're on, the green. You've also got head volume. You can press or hold one of these for 1 second to toggle between half and full volume. So when they're amber, that means they're half volume and they're on. And when they're green, it means they're full volume and they're on. Yeah, nice and easy to see quickly. That's the thing. Not much more on here now. Let's whiz through these last few. At the top, you've got a button here called repeats. I don't know whether you can read that, but that's what it's called, this one here. And the repeats controls the feedback amount for the heads that have their feedback enabled. So the higher you turn it, more feedback. Lower you turn it, the less feedback, but only to the heads that have been enabled. Down here. Clever. And below it we've got this spacing. Spacing, man, far out. Spaced out, yeah. Well, what's that about? Well, that adjusts the spacing between the heads. You know, I said before that you've got a number of these heads. And on this machine here, at least you can sort of go like this between the heads, which affects things, of course. So that adjusts the spacing between the heads, and if you turn it, it morphs the heads in between the mark settings. Well, what mark settings? If you look at it, you can see even, triplet. What's that? What have we got there? We've got even, triplet, golden, and silver. Who knows what they mean? Well, let's have a look what they mean. Even sets the heads evenly to produce delays of 16th notes. 8th note, dotted 8th, and quarter note. The triplet are here. This sets the heads to 16th note triplet, 8th note triplet, quarter note triplet, and quarter note. Exciting. Golden sets the distances between each of these heads according to the golden ratio. It's probably some standard derived from a studio. This results in the fastest density build-up when multiple heads are repeating. And the silver one down here, probably all the way over, sets the distance between the heads according to the silver ratio. Again, probably another studio calculation. That results in repeats that bunch up closer to the head for quarter note. There's a lot in it, isn't there? Yeah, there sure is. Well, we're getting there now. We've got this little switch here, and this all relates to speed. No, that sort of speed. The speed of the tape. Anyway, if you read it, you can go hard speed, normal speed, or double speed. But note the shortest possible delay time is achieved by setting spacing to triplet and selecting head 1. Yeah, I think I've talked about this one. Well, I have talked about it. It controls the time, the delay time at head 4. Heads 1 to 3 subdivide proportionately according to the spacing setting. Yeah. Turn the knob to the left for shorter delays and to the right for longer delays. That's pretty obvious if you think about it. The delay time ranges, they vary by selected speed settings. So these depend on them. The delay ranges at the head for half, 400 milliseconds to 4 seconds. For normal, the 200 milliseconds to 2 seconds. And for double, they're 100 milliseconds to 1 second. So these are very useful in combination to achieve exactly what you're trying to. Yeah, very nice. Clever. Lastly, we got an echo level, which is actually the output. But, well, it's the effect level. Let's think of it like that. It sets the overall delay signal level sent to the output. Yeah. And we've got a spring. This controls the output mix of the integrated spring reverb tank. The dry signal input and echo level knob control the signals feeding into the spring reverb effect. The reverb effect is located just before the output. To bypass this, turn the knob all the way to the left. So it's just a simple full, none, or anything in between. There's a sound on sound feature in here, and basically use the tap button for it. You can see it says SOS there. That's not SOS as in we're sinking the Titanic. No, it's not that one. This one's all about sound on sound, and you can control a load of stuff in here. I'm not going to spend time on it, but I just wanted to point that out because I don't think I did earlier. Okay, one last thing, why not? There's a live edit function. It's basically a way to adjust several settings that don't have a dedicated knob or switch. I'd better mention it. In order to access those functions, you've got to hold the feedback buttons 1 and 4 together, these two. Hold them together while you turn the assigned knob. And the assigned knobs are, where am I? Let me get this one. This is turns the mechanics knob to adjust this. It's like a pause ramp speed, it says here. Turning the knob to the left makes the pause ramp more slowly. Turning the knob to the right makes the pause ramp more quickly. There's also this one, which can affect the MIDI clock. And you turn this to have Volante sync with the MIDI clock. The on LED indicates the selection. If it's off, it's red, it's default. And if it's on, it's green. Well, it's simple as that. We've also got one here. This one here is sound on sound repeat. It turns the repeat knob to adjust this. Turning the knob to the left decreases the number of sound on sound loop repeats. And then we've got the N1, which is again a sound on sound loop level. The echo level, this one, you turn it when it's in that mode to adjust the SOS loop volume. Yeah. One more. No, two more. Got spring decay. If you turn this to adjust the spring decay, turning the knob to the left shortens the spring reverb delay, turning it to the right provides a longer one. Remember, you've got to have the 1 and 4 down. In that mode, that is. And lastly, we've got this one over here, which you can set it to either respond or ignore MIDI expression. Turn the low cut knob to select whether the Volante will respond to MIDI expression CC100. The on LED indicates the selection. If it's red, it's off. If it's on, it's green. Lastly, and I mean lastly, regarding the MIDI specification of this, really you've got 3 banks of MIDI patches, and the reason for that is that MIDI only supports 0 to 127, but there's 300 presets, for want of a better word. If you go to MIDI bank 0, you've got 0 to 127. MIDI bank 1 has 128 to 255, and MIDI bank 2 has 256 to 299. When you power the unit up, the default's always MIDI patch bank 0. So if you plan to stay within the first 127 presets, you'll send a standard MIDI program change message to as a preset, no problem. But if you want to use MIDI bank 1 and or 2, it's advisable to send a standard MIDI bank change message, that is MIDI CC #0, with a value equal to the MIDI bank number before each MIDI program change, just to be sure. Selecting bank 0, patch 127, will put Volante into manual mode. In this mode, the pedal will be set up for current knob and switch settings. No preset data can be stored at this preset location, so remember that. I won't bore you with all the settings and the rest of it because it goes on forever, as they all do. On the tech specs of this thing, there's a few interesting things. I mean, there's loads of other stuff, but some of the things I thought were interesting. It's got a premium JFET analog front end to it, so a bit of quality in there. It's ultra low noise because it's based on high performance 24-bit 96 kHz A to D and D tray converters. Well, that's as good as it gets, really, or at least in something like this it is. It's got a super high performance Shark DSP chip that we saw earlier, and 32-bit floating point processing. There's another few things as well, such as input impedance is 1 megohm, the output impedance is 100 ohm. Its frequency response is 20 Hz to 20 kHz, which is probably as good as you get. Signal to noise is 115 dB. The DSP performance is 1585 megaflops, just in case you don't know what that means. It means it's pretty quick. And it's true bypass with relay switching. I did show you the relay. And yeah, what more can you say about this? It's well made and well spec'd. That's probably why it costs you 400 quid or maybe $600 or so. Now then, oh my God, I used to put a piece of tape on it and twiddle a couple of knobs and away it went. What went wrong? Actually, nothing went wrong. It just came up to the 21st century. Almost the 22nd century from what I can see. It's all digital, there's no tape. There's none of that stuff, it's all gone, man. What's happening? Listen, if the Echoplex is good enough for all them other guys, it was good enough for me. My God, I think it was 800 quid in 1973. In the days when Gibson owned them. This is £400 and does 30,000 more things. And as proof of that, I got the manual. Yeah, the great thing is, when you rent these pedals, you just go to the internet and download the manual. You don't need the pedal in the box or any of that stuff. Oh yeah, well, you're not on the internet. Press a few buttons and see what happens. Anyway, these factory preset settings are what I'm going to be using when I press the buttons out there. I'm not going to sit there all day trying to make a sound because I can't. I'm not into these type of pedals personally these days. I like a bit of delay. Yeah, I might do that. But apart from that, it's not me. So, because I do all mine on the desk, you see, it's like better. Because when you get it wrong and you record it with any pedal, you can't get it off. So if you record it as I do, without the effect, and put the effect on the desk, if you're recording that is, that's a good idea. Let's come back to this. There it is. It's a brilliant pedal, lots of stuff in it, and got a friend over in America, Tommy. He said, "Oh, Tony." Well, he didn't quite say it like that, but had I been there, he would have said, "Tony, that's a great pedal." That's right, Tommy. Yeah, and he did say that's a great pedal. So, and he knows his onions. Well, he knows his pedals too. These are the ones we're going to have a look at. Preset 1, playback 2, well, it's high pass tape, Silken C, that sounds fun. Yeah, reminds me when I went from England to Ireland once. Yeah, it was Silken C alright. Yeah, what I had 10 minutes ago came back. Oh. Preset 5, tape 1, 2, 3, studio regen, headed drum, 3-headed drum. Well, I got a drum. Tape dreams, well, all sounds fun. Now we come to the last page in the manual, which is always an interesting one. Believe it or not, whether you like it or you don't like it, it's an interesting one because it's always got the warranty on it and the exclusions and horrible stuff like that. Well, thankfully, I'm alive. Thankfully, the Strymon warrants the product to be free from defects in material and workmanship for 2 years. So you get a 2-year warranty on it. Unfortunately, the warranty only covers defects in manufacturing while using this product as recommended by Strymon. Remember that. So if you mess around, this warranty does not cover loss of theft, nor does the coverage extend to damage caused by misuse, abuse, unauthorized modification, improper storage, lighting, or natural disasters. So if you have an earthquake somewhere and this falls into the crack, it's gone forever. I've never seen that before, but there you go. So, yeah, the damaged boys are now Strymon. If they always weren't, or if they always were, you'll get it. Okay, well, there's little else to say about this pedal. I've said everything I can say by looking at it, by showing you inside. And some of the things they say in here, interestingly, are borne out actually in what we saw inside. For example, like the relay, the true bypass relay. I like to see all that sort of stuff, don't you? You don't want junk, do you? This certainly isn't junk. Would I pay £400 for it? Well, highly likely, personally, I wouldn't. But I'm not a pedal guy. You may well be. Long review again, it starts turning into it. But the review for the sounds, well, that won't be lasting too long. It's coming up any time presently. Yeah. Now listen, just before I do go on out there, and you hear it, I want to talk about Tonebuddy.co.uk. There it is. You can see Tonebuddy.co.uk. www. Yeah, they're working on the site, they told me, so don't worry about that. Don't hold it against them. Thing about that, what I like about it, is this. You've got to be in England, by the way. I don't think they're going to ship it to the States. No. Well, the great thing about it is when I've had enough, which won't be too long, I'll just plug it in, demo it now. It can go back. And then I'll ask them to choose another for me. Hopefully not another one of these. It does give you the return sticker that you put on this box, box it all up, and off it goes. How great's that? I mean, you don't get much better than that, really. Saves a load of time, a load of effort, and it helps you, in my opinion, to decipher what some of them names are on some of them pedals. I mean, honestly, you haven't got to be a genius, but what have you got to be? How can you determine what the pedal is from its name? You can't. You got to ask somebody all the time, and hey, what's that doing? Then you look an idiot, don't you, like me? Don't forget to go to tonebuddy.co.uk, and don't forget to go to TonyMckenzie.com, where there are lots of reviews, but not all of them. That's it. Playing coming up. What can I rate it as a score? Well, I have pumped it in. I'd rate it, you know, the thing is, for me, this isn't a unit useful to me, but I can see very useful to a lot of people. Regarding its quality and its sounds, it sounds just like, you can make it sound just like the old, you know, tape echoes. Brought back a lot of memories. I wish I'd forgotten. Some guys love those sounds. So for what it says it does, and what it does, and the quality, and I think I have to emphasise the quality, I'd give this one about an 8. Yeah, I think that's a good score. I wouldn't give it a 10 because I think it's a bit expensive, but like most American pedals, by the time they've sort of shipped here and messed around and you've had the distribution and all the rest, the price is always going to be higher. The pound doesn't help either, does it, right now, with that Brexit stuff going on, you know. Spirals the pound, which is not a good idea. So 8 out of 10, and here we go. Until next time, get out of here. I'm back. Well, I never went anywhere. Oh, look what I plugged in. But it is what it is, and I'm only playing this thing down here clean. The Strymon Volante. I'm not a pedal guy. I've always said it. And all I'm going to do on this is just show you the presets, so don't get too excited. And I'm only going to show you on clean. Look at this thing. Yeah, you've seen that before. At least I hope you have. Yeah, very interesting review on that one. It's an interesting review on the pedal, obviously, if you like pedals. Here's the tone that you get with it turned out and that setup on clean. It's pretty clean. Now, no, I haven't got the camera plugged in through all the circuitry and the rest. Doesn't really matter. Won't make much difference. You'll hear the tone or you won't, and things like that. I've got a lot of time at the moment because I'm not going to be around for a few weeks, so I need to be on this. So that's the clean tone. You get the idea. Doesn't sound bad, right? Yeah. So here we go. First preset. I'll probably put up somewhere there, or maybe down there, the little circuit for each preset that we go through. And this is preset number 1, middle in, it says. Who knows? As I said, I'm not good at these things. So, here's the effect. Wasn't hard, was it? Well, I have to say, it does sound good here. I don't know what it's like in there, but here, it does sound good. I don't really use them, but it sounded real cool. So let's move on to the next one. Okay, as I said, preset 2. This one says it's head on, whatever that means. I'll just play a few chords. Tone reference. this number 3 preset, it's called high pass tape. Oh. Well, you just hear it clean and you'll get the idea. Reference. Ah. Tape. Tape. Yeah, I suppose it is really. Still going. Okay, this number 4 preset's called Silken C. Or is it Suck It and See? Anyway, whatever it is, here's the reference. Clean. And here's the effect. Yeah. That was me, wasn't it? Let's do it again. You know, you can actually hear that tape going like this as it goes round, just like it did on the Echoplex all them years ago. Well, you see why I got rid of it, but you guys will love it. Yeah. I don't know. I can hear it. Anyway, upward and onward. Now, this next one's called Upward and Onward. And listen, I'm never going to be able to demonstrate. I just have to listen. It's not me. I can't do it. I don't come from this stuff. Oh man. But anyway, here's the reference tone. Look at that, right? But here you go. Referenced. I guess if you played single notes. Feel it doing this. It is actually like a crystalline sound in here. It's hard to describe. Very good pedal. Bit pricey, but rent it, like I said. This next one's called Studio Regen. I don't even know what it does. Like I said, I'm just like you. This is what you'd be doing, right? Unless you're one of them edge type of guys. I'm not one of them. It's a clean. Get much cleaner than that. And here's the Studio Regen. Who knows what we'll get. I love the wobble at the end, listen. It even takes the thing out of tune. Or out of tune, down and up and waving like this. Listen. Just so you get an idea on the neck. one's called a Heady Drum, and it's preset 7. I don't mind this one actually. Let's give you the tone first. This is the regular tone of the guitar. Can't argue with that, right? So here we go. Wobble fading off. I suppose that's part of what the unit's about. I mean, it's supposed to be a tape echo type of thing, and it certainly does sound like one. Off it goes. Now then, this last one says, this is preset 8, it says it's Tape Dreams. Well, could be a bit of a nightmare if it's not your dream sound, that is, but as I say, I don't use them, so... The tone. Now the tone with that in. No, not this tone, that tone. There it is. I can't really demo this. Drive it loopy. Well, there you go. For me, it's not something I'd personally buy. That's why doing this stuff with these guys, of renting the pedals, is a really great idea. Honestly, it's a great idea, and I can recommend it. It might cost you a little bit of money, but certainly not the sort of money that you'd spend otherwise on pedals. And you can have all these pedals piling up. Indeed, like I did, after I reviewed them, you know, a pile of pedals sitting around here, down there they are. To be honest, they only sit there because I lose so much money if I sold them, so I just don't do it. And I stopped doing pedals, if you've noticed. I only did a few cheap ones, or really old ones. Well, this idea of renting the pedals, for me, is a great idea. If you're an ordinary guy like me, I'm nothing special. Trust me, that doing this is a good idea, and your wife will like you again. You know what them are like, don't you? Yeah. Anyway, information's coming up on the screen of how you do this, where you go, how you check it, and yeah, sound effects came up with a pretty clever idea. I think it may not suit everybody, but it's like life. If you don't know about it, and I bet you don't, yeah, worth looking at. You've already had the scores, you've already listened to the sounds. I didn't plug it in. Who cares? It doesn't sound bad. You can get the idea from here. And yeah, now get out of here. Oh, and you heard the guitar. That was the last thing, wasn't it? Clean in particular. But it didn't sort of drive in the right way for me, you know, with the rock stuff, with the sort of tapping actually. I'm a bit picky with that. It doesn't work if you've got the wrong pickups. Well, my sort of tapping doesn't. Yours might. Great guitar though. Yeah, that came from Sound Effects. For a pretty penny, I might add. Actually, it was cheap for what it was, so there's no arguing with that either. Yeah. Wonder if I should put it on a bit of distortion. No, I know it's not plugged in, it's not getting through all the wiring, I didn't have time, get out of here on that, but you get the idea of some of the distortion coming out of this thing, and that's only on about number 10. See, it's a bit. Enough of that for now, because it's got a separate review with a pickup change and all the rest of it coming about this guitar. So, till next time, get out of here, you've heard enough. Bye bye.
Thank you.